if it was me, I would travel down Highway 1 and make my way to a cultural landmark, an institution. It is the most beautiful Taco Bell in the world.
Hey, I'm Josh Meyers, the new host of the California Now podcast. The San Francisco Peninsula is that thumb of land that separates the San Francisco Bay from the Pacific Ocean. But it's so much more than that. It's a coastal enclave, a mountain escape, and a tech hub all rolled into a 60-mile long, 10-mile wide swath of land. On this episode of California Now, we're going to talk to a few folks who can give us the lay of this unique land just south of San Francisco. We'll start with San Mateo County Parks and Recreation Director Nick Calderon, who's going to give us a few ideas for some amazing outdoor adventures you can have on the peninsula.
If you've never been to San Mateo County, you got to come up. You have to see our coast. You have to see our parks in the mountains. You got to enjoy our food and really get to know the people up here, because it's truly a unique place, and I'm convinced once you come, you'll never want to leave.
And we'll dive into the incredible food scene from Silicon Valley to the coast with SFGATE food editor Jessica Yadegaran.
They decided they were going to build the next great California restaurant in an impossible place.
So let's explore the wonders of the San Francisco Peninsula right here on California Now. The unique geography of San Mateo County makes it a pretty special place to find outdoor adventure. On one side, there's a magnificent coast with some of the most epic surfing waves on the planet. And on the other side, an inland region hugged by the Santa Cruz Mountains, rich with redwood forest wilderness. My next guest is Nick Calderon, the Director of Parks and Recreation for San Mateo County. Nick, welcome to California Now.
Hey, Josh, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Great pleasure. Now, before we get started, I got to ask, there's a famous show, Parks and Rec. You are sort of the leader of Parks and Rec up in San Mateo County. Are there any similarities? Are you the Leslie Knope of your area?
I think if you were to ask any one of my counterpart parks directors in the county, I think we would all tell you yes. And it's funny, we all get together once a month and swap stories. And I promise you, we could have written the show, dare I say better, but at least as good. It really is a fairly accurate representation of what we do.
Well, let's talk real quickly about the geography of San Mateo County. It makes up the bulk of the San Francisco Peninsula, which is, of course, what we're here to talk about in this episode. Can you describe the geography to people who have never been there before?
Yeah, and I got to tell you, I get a copy of your opening because I think that was the best description I've heard anyone give.
All right.
It's this really special place where on the east, you're surrounded by the San Francisco Bay, and you can see all the way across to the Diablo Mountains. If you have the right angle, you get to see all the way up to the city. No matter where you go on the east side of the county, you can always see Salesforce Tower in the city. But then you get to rise up into the Santa Cruz Mountains, where you have these beautiful redwood trees, and you have this really spectacular change in topography and microclimates. And then as you come down on the west side, you have that California coast and that feeling that you get anytime you access the coast anywhere in the state. That's what you get as you kind of crest over the ridge line. You can start your morning on a remarkable run or bike ride along the bay and end your night sitting on the beach in Half Moon Bay or in the Mid Coast area, having some food or a drink. And so that's, I think, one of the most unique things about what the San Francisco Peninsula is you have all these unique opportunities all within a fairly confined, limited space.
Yeah, I'm embarrassed to say that I haven't. I've been to San Francisco, but San Francisco is not technically in the San Francisco Peninsula, correct?
That's an interesting question. I mean, I think if you look at a map, you'd say so. But certainly if you live up here, the peninsula starts where the city stops and then traverses down through San Mateo County and encompasses a little bit of Santa Clara County. It's something that you got to experience for yourself. So you want to come on up, let me know. I'm certainly happy to host you and show you around.
I'm eager to do it. And then, I've been to the Central Coast, and I've been north of San Francisco, and sort of all the way up the western seaboard as it is. It gets pretty rugged the further up you go. Do you have sort of rugged stretches? I also have seen some pictures of a park that you have that looks like it's just sort of fantastic sand dunes that people could slip down on their way to the beach. Is it a whole collection of different sort of beach experiences that you have there?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think we are really a remarkable balance of the two. You're absolutely right. You go down to Southern California and you go to, San Diego, and you have residential communities right up to the beach. You go far up north and it's as you said, rugged and really wild. Here in San Mateo County, we have a combination of the two, right? And so uh, one of our parks, Pillar Point Bluff, is really one of the coolest places you can go. And while you're hiking on these trails, hiking through, this native coastal scrub, on one side you're going to have an airport, and you get to watch, recreation planes just flying and enjoying the view. And on the other side, you have the Pacific Ocean. And if you get lucky, that's actually the best spot to watch the Mavericks surf break. You can also go down to Cal Prisma Trail, where you have farmland on one side, the ocean on the other, and it's the same up and down the coast. So we do have some development, but we also have a lot of, what I'd say open space and wild land that you just get to really be alone and enjoy that California experience, which we all love so much.
And then I know that we can't really talk about the peninsula without talking about Silicon Valley, which brings so much tech and business to the area. But what kind of dimension does that add to sort of the outdoor experience that you can have there?
When anyone thinks of this area, you instantly think of the Silicon Valley, and rightfully so. It's a big part of who we are. But really, when you get up here, it's everyone here. I think does a really good job of balancing that work experience with that outdoor recreation. I think we here in Northern California, particularly, we have such awesome weather. It can be dead of winter, or it can be peak summer, and it's still this remarkable weather that you can do anything, and you can go for your hikes. You can enjoy a barbecue with your family. You can enjoy the beach, and so all of our outdoor experiences, they're really close to remarkable restaurants and remarkable opportunities to grab a drink with friends. And so I think we've just been very fortunate with how this area has been planned, how it's been conserved, to be able to couple these experiences with one another. So yeah, you can go to work at any one of those major tech companies that you're probably thinking of in the day, and go enjoy the outdoors at night.
What a treasure to have that all around you. But what are some of your favorite activities in San Mateo County?
We, like many other people, the coast is our playground. And so we love going for bike rides. My kids love riding scooters, and just really running up and down the coastline there. They love going out to the bay, and in one experience, you can be watching planes flying into SFO while also watching sailboats really, go up and down that coastline. And we are a very windy part of the Bay Area, and so we're also a popular location for all types of wind sports. So we have a park, Coyote Point, and while there, you can play on a remarkable playground, watch airplanes, watch boats, and watch kite surfers and windsurfers all at the same time. And so that's really tends to be what our weekends consist of when we're not doing soccer or swim or anything like that.
I do have to get up there. One place I don't know if I need to go, though, I mean, maybe to watch, but you did mention Mavericks, which is a famous surf destination known for its waves. How big are the waves out at Mavericks?
They get big. They get real big, and they break at about I think it's like a half mile offshore, and you can still see them. And so it's really a spectacular sight to see when you're standing on the bluffs with a whole lot of other people, and you see this tiny person surfing that wave. It puts it in perspective as to how wild that experience must be for people. I personally enjoy watching it from the shore. You're not going to
Yep.
find me anywhere near that, but I do enjoy watching it from the shore, and so do a lot of other people up here. But you got to time it just right and get lucky.
And then if you're not the surfing type, if you're more like me, what kind of things do people like to do on the beaches down there?
It's whatever you're looking for, really, right? Again, we have the Fitzgerald Marine Reserve, a remarkable place to go tide pooling and really enjoy that marine life. And we also have beaches in Half Moon Bay, north of Half Moon Bay. State Parks has a lot of beaches that you can just go and have that classic California beach experience. You set up that lawn chair, throw a frisbee, throw a football, play in the water. I think the one thing we always remind people, though, is this is definitely not Southern California in the regard. The water's a little colder up here. And by a little colder, I mean significantly noticeable. So definitely be careful when you're doing it. But a nice day up here, the best way to cool down is really by enjoying the ocean.
I mean, cold plunges are all the rage, and you've got maybe one of the nicest ones going just off your coast.
And it's free. Come on up.
Exactly. Well, let's talk trails for a minute. I know that you've got so many parks and so many, like, hundreds of miles of trails. I'm sure you get some hardcore hikers going through there, and then you have some more casual, family-friendly hikes. What are some hikes you recommend, and what do you say to the hikers among us?
So if you're new to this area, I always recommend heading up to San Bruno Mountain. This is a location where you can have a nice, relaxing, fairly flat hike that gives you these beautiful views of the city and the bay. But it also has some hilly hikes that's really going to test you. And then, I always have to recommend Hutter Park for people looking to really get through the Santa Cruz Mountains and see what it's all about. If you're really looking to explore, I tell people to head down to Pescadero Creek County Park, which is one of our largest parks and a really great representation of what today's redwood forests look like in the Santa Cruz Mountains.
I heard you talking somewhere else about pump tracks, which I didn't know what you were talking about until I Googled it. But you've got a couple pump tracks in the area now?
Yeah, absolutely. So
can you just, because I didn't know what it was, can you tell our listeners what a pump track is exactly?
Yeah, absolutely. So a pump track is I think the common definition is a series of rollers and berms that someone can ride without having to really pedal their bike, right? And so we have two tracks, one on the coast side at Quarry Park, and then one on the bay side at Flood Park. And they have quickly become probably two of the most popular facilities in our entire system. And the one at Flood Park in particular, because it's paved and not dirt, you see some pretty wild things out there in a good way. We opened on our opening weekend, and I'm out there watching, and there's a dad with his child on the front of the handlebars in one of those child seats riding this pump track. And as a dad, I was I'm like, I can't believe this is happening. But I got to tell you, he rode it perfectly, and the kid had a great time, and they were there. They did a couple laps on it, but it's also kids on scooters and skateboards, and you have kids learning how to ride a bike on striders, and you have more experienced riders, and it's really something that brings the community together.
They look awesome, yeah, I'm a bit of a cyclist, and part of me would love to bring my bike up there and try my hand at a pump track. Maybe not the most extreme courses of them, but just something.
We got something for everyone.
How about camping? Do you have good campgrounds in all these parks as well?
We do. We have in the county park system, Memorial Park. It is our oldest park. We are 101 years old. Memorial Park was our first park. We celebrated its 100-year anniversary last year. And in preparation for that, we've done just some remarkable work to get it up to speed and to have, the best restrooms, the best showers. I mean, if you go camping, you oftentimes walk into some of those restrooms and frankly walk out without using it, or you avoid, taking a shower for a couple days because maybe those facilities aren't what you're looking for. We made sure that we're not having that problem anymore, and we upgraded all of our facilities and our infrastructure. Memorial Park is always being used by the public. We've also in San Mateo County have, state parks has a couple locations where you can camp. We have a couple private locations, including Costa Noa down in the southern part of San Mateo County on the coast. That's right off the highway. So we have a lot of camping opportunities.
And then you do have a dog-friendly campground now, is that correct?
We do, yeah. We opened our first dog-friendly campground a couple of seasons ago at Memorial Park, and we opened it not knowing what the reception was going to be, and it's just booked all the time. So we're probably going to have to open up another one.
I have to compliment your picnic tables, if I may. There's something to a nice picnic table, and I've seen a couple layouts of some of the picnic tables you have that have like shade structures over them. They're next to beautiful lawns. If you were passing through, or if you live in the area and you want to go spend an afternoon at the park, it looks like you might just have one of the most beautiful places you've ever been to sit down and have lunch.
We're all about providing that variety of experiences. So you can have a beautiful picnic amongst some old oak trees. You can also go and have a beautiful picnic along a creek and with some redwood trees, and kind of everything in between, including out at again Coyote Point, where you're near open fields, which is perfect for kids running around and playing. And you're right that we have awesome shade opportunities for those days where it gets a little hot. And I appreciate the compliment. We've been putting a lot of work into our facilities, recognizing the amount of demand that parks are getting. And for us, it's really important that we stay up with our maintenance and make sure that every time someone comes to a county park, that they have a remarkable experience.
You do have your share of cities and bigger towns. What are some good opportunities for people who don't have time to sort of get all the way out into the park system? If you're in a city, but you still want to get outside, what are some opportunities that might be there?
If you're on the Bay side, one of the, we really love to go to Washington Park in Burlingame or Red Morton Park in Redwood City. San Mateo is doing great work at Central Park. I know South City's done some remarkable work at a lot of their parks. San Bruno's built new facilities in theirs as well. And if you're in the northern part of the county or you're on the coast side, you can never go wrong visiting Half Moon Bay or Pacifica, because they have some of the best beaches around. I've been going to them since I was a kid.
So you have so many fabulous parks up there, and then you also have a new park?
Yeah. So we are getting ready to open Don Horsley County Park at Tunitas Creek Beach. And so this is located about 8 miles south of Half Moon Bay, and is important for so many reasons, including it was really probably the last opportunity to convert private land to public land on the San Mateo County coast. And we have this remarkable property that drops in elevation fairly quickly. And so we've been able to create at each level of the property a different experience. So if you want to just be able to paint or take pictures of the coast, you can do all that from the upper bluff. But if you want to have a picnic or enjoy the amphitheater, you can do that from the mid bluff. And if you're looking for that classic California experience, you got to head down to the beach. It's a beautiful sandy beach. Sometimes you get beaches that are rocky. Like this is perfect for a game of beach football. And so we're in the middle of constructing that right now. That's going to be opening probably mid 2026. But it's been really one of our biggest initiatives. And I think once it opens, it's going to be one of the biggest draws to the coast, certainly.
I wonder if anyone will play the game of football that they played in Top Gun Maverick, where there are two balls and both teams are on offense and defense at the same time.
Let's get a group going.
The game doesn't have to make sense.
No, not at all. Not at all. We'll get a group going. Come on up.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us here, and I'll have to get up there and say hello.
You let me know when you're up here, and would love to show you around, but encourage anyone watching, if you've never been to San Mateo County, you got to come up. You have to see our coast. You have to see our parks in the mountains. You got to enjoy our food and really get to know the people up here, because it's truly a unique place, and I'm convinced once you come, you'll never want to leave.
Nick Calderon is the Director of Parks and Recreation for San Mateo County on the San Francisco Peninsula. For more information on the county's outdoor activities, visit smc.gov. gov/parks. The San Francisco Peninsula offers a little of everything. Dramatic coastline, cutting-edge cities, small-town charm, and a food scene that reflects it all. Here to give us the ultimate rundown is Jessica Yadegaran, food editor at SFGATE, who has covered the Bay Area culinary scene for more than 20 years. She's lived all over California and has a real soft spot for the peninsula, both the coast and its under-the-radar inland towns. Jessica, welcome to California Now.
Thanks so much for having me, Josh.
It is a great pleasure. I have read some of your writing. It sounds like you've gone to some incredible spots, not just because of the food, but because of just how beautiful they are and how incredible they are. And that part of the world, I know, is just stunning. So lucky you that you get to live in, report on, and eat at so many of these incredible, incredible places. So what do you think it is that distinguishes the San Francisco Peninsula from the rest of the Bay Area?
That's a really good question. So it's crazy that it's just like 15 minutes from SFO. You can literally get off the plane, be in your car, and be in Pacifica. Wild, free, windswept, beautiful beach city in 15 minutes. I think it's that combination that you said. You have this rugged, wild, untouched, overgrown coast, so different than, as a kid from Orange County, so different than the beaches in Southern California. While we love that part of California, this part is distinctively different. And people love it for that reason, So you've got this mix of like you said, the rugged coast, the sort of bucolic small towns, agricultural towns, really, that grow a lot of our produce that we eat. And then, yes, the more buttoned up, high profile, wealthy Silicon Valley city. So, okay,
yeah,
we're going to start. I'm going to take you, like I mentioned, to Pacifica. So you're going to get in your car. You're going to drive about 15 minutes from SFO. You're going to pull into Humble Sea Brewery. And what I love about this brewery is that it steps from the beach. It's got a 9,000 square foot outdoor patio.
Oh, wow.
And it has what most brewery menus lack is like a real thoughtful curation of food for vegetarians and vegans. Thinking about you, Josh.
That's me. Yeah.
I'm partial to the fish and chips. If you want to know what to order, they are battered in the brewery's own beer, and they use their citra hops in the aioli. But I will say the cauliflower hummus is really, really good. It's got these toasted padron peppers and salted cucumbers on top. They do a very mean vegetarian bratwurst as well. And their beers, they've got some Kolsch's, some lagers, some IPAs, and something called a fruit beer smoothie.
Okay. I'll bite.
It's blended with real fruit that's grown locally.
It has a thickness to it, the way a smoothie would?
Yeah, it's a bit frothy. So that's my favorite place to start. The move, however, afterwards is to go to Rosalind's Bakery next door and pick up whatever you can get your hands on, like whatever's left from the day. It's a beloved local bakery. And in these small towns, I'm sure you know from traveling up and down California, is they kind of become these like social hubs and like central gathering places for the towns. And
sure,
that's sort of what these two places are. So, yeah, they're famous for their croissants, their morning buns, their pan pizzas. They do a grandma pan pizza that's just delightful if you're not full from your experience at the brewery.
Yeah, I mean, a pizza is something I feel like you could always get and just bring with you.
Yeah, that's the move. So you pick up whatever you want from there and you walk over to Pacifica State Beach, which is actually a really killer surf spot. And you can watch the surfers like catching waves and just kind of.
I like that you say that I can watch the surfers, that I wouldn't want to join them.
Oh, I don't know about your
no, I'm not allowed to join them. I'm not allowed to join them.
Prowess.
They wouldn't like me out there. I'd have too many questions, and I'm not from there.
Okay, so after that, if it was me, I would travel down Highway 1, don't call it PCH, as you know, um, and make my way to a cultural landmark, an institution. It's not a lighthouse or like a marine mammal institution like you would think. It is the most beautiful Taco Bell in the world. This one is unique because it is literally on the beach and
Uh-huh.
it has a bar. So you can get like these boozy, slushy, alcoholic drinks.
And this is a Taco Bell like we all know Taco Bell, like Doritos Locos
Yeah,
Tacos Taco Bell?
yeah. Chalupa Taco Bell.
Okay.
It is stunning. So you have to go there, take a selfie. If you're not into like, Mexican pizza for $2, you just get the selfie, say you were there.
Yeah. Is it packed?
Yes. Yeah, there's always a line. It's packed, and they have a special menu that the cantina menu has like extra chicken dishes. So yeah, it has like specialty menus, a bar, the view. It's a cultural institution, I will say.
So all right, so you've been doing a good amount of eating if you've stopped at all these places, if you've been to Rosalind's and you've been to the brewery and you've been to Taco Bell. If you need to take a break from eating amidst all of this, what are some things to do in the area?
So I would go to a little known, at least up here, it's little known, which tells me it might be little known elsewhere too. A little open space. It's called Wavecrest.
Okay.
It's a 200-acre reserve in Half Moon Bay. So you just continue down Highway 1 a little ways. And what makes it really special is that the elements, namely like the wind and stuff, has created this tubular tunnel of cypress trees
Ooh.
that you can hike through. It's
Yeah.
at least a quarter of a mile. I mean, you can go hike longer.
Yeah.
Especially if you have like the chalupa, you might want to hike longer. But
Sure.
it's at least a quarter of a mile. And the trees have been going this way based on the elements for at least photos indicate like the 1930s. So it's really quite gorgeous. You can spot probably the greenhorned owls, barn owls.
Okay.
So if you're into birding, it's a beautiful place to just chill for a little bit, hike as long or as little as you want. So that's what I would recommend.
Yeah. I imagine are a lot of these places dog friendly as well?
Every place I mentioned, especially the brewery, what do you call it, patio,
Yeah.
um, and definitely the next place. I don't know about Taco Bell. I'm probably not inside, but outside, obviously.
Yeah. Well, I mean, dogs, at least Chihuahuas famously quiero Taco Bell. So,
Really funny.
um, Pescadero is another town that I've not been to, but it seems like it's a real food town from what I've read, from some things that you've written, with some real history. And specifically when you think about sort of its agricultural background. So, what kind of places are in and around Pescadero?
Okay, so Pescadero is like one of those towns, just historic towns, sort of frozen in time. I mean, it is so quiet that you can hear the waves crash about. It's about 2 miles away, the beach,
Hmm.
and you can hear the waves crash. It's famous for growing artichokes, as are a lot of the other towns up and down San Mateo, that part of San Mateo County and into Monterey County. Brussels sprouts, fava beans. I think the population's like 400, which is it's actually almost doubled in the last 5 years, which is fascinating.
Yeah.
The downtown is super old timey. You can walk across it like in probably 5 minutes. I have 3 spots in Pescadero that I really love. So the first one is a historic tavern called Duarte's. You'll know you're there when you see it's got one of those really cool neon signs flashing liquor. And they're famous for their cream of artichoke soup. This thing, so they grow artichokes in the back of their restaurant, but it's not nearly enough to like serve the community and visitors this famous soup. So they actually get their artichokes from I think 2 or 3 farming families in the area. Something like 100 pounds a week. It's pretty gnarly.
Wow.
Yeah. And if it's a lullaberry season, be sure you get either the pie or a margarita.
What berry season? I'm sorry.
Olallaberry.
I don't know Olala berries.
They're famous in like Oregon and Washington, but we grow them in Northern California too. They're sort of like the closest thing would be a blackberry, I suppose.
Okay.
They're a little bit like longer in length and stuff, almost like a mulberry.
Okay.
But it's delicious, tart, perfect for a pie, and apparently a margarita or a juice. They do juices too for the kiddos. Anyway, you're going to walk like maybe 500 feet and get to Arcangeli's grocer.
Okay.
It's a little old-timey grocery store, and you'll be able to smell what you're going to eat before you see it. It's they're famous for their artichoke bread. It's a crusty loaf, still warm, heavy, crunchy on the outside, sort of warm, and layered with like sheets of artichoke on the inside. And the move is to get this locally made goat cheese. I think it's called Harley Farms. And the goats are, I'm not kidding you, like they're up the street. The goats are little. You can go visit the goats.
That's nice.
That make this goat cheese. Yeah. So you get the little slab of the goat cheese, you get your hunk of bread, and you literally sit at a picnic table and just gnaw on this thing, share it, tear.
I also heard of a place in Pescadero, a funky little spot in a gas station.
Yes. Okay. So this is a couple hundred feet from that grocery store we were just talking about. It's inside the Alliance gas station. Oh my gosh, what's it called? Mercado and Taqueria de Amigos, with my amazing Spanish accent. This place has been featured in the New York Times and Sunset Magazine, and it literally still has like 124 followers on Instagram. I don't know. Their last post was like a picture of the salsa bar from 2015. Like, it just, for some reason, like, people love it, but they're not spreading the word, which I love. Let's keep it that way. The menu's great. Anything you get is good. They're famous for their shrimp tostadas, and being that you're, on the coast, I would say that's the move. They are fished from a local in Half Moon Bay and either frozen and brought over fresh. So you can get in and out of that place in under $12, I would say, for 2 tostadas. If you happen to be swinging by in the morning, the breakfast burrito is really good. They have everything.
Oh man, what a sweet sounding spot that is. And then you hear a lot about Half Moon Bay, another town I haven't been to. Tell me about Half Moon Bay. What can I expect if I go in there?
So Half Moon Bay is, certainly more discovered than some of these other places we've been talking about. I would venture to say touristy, but you can find little gems. You can walk Main Street in downtown and hit some really fun shops, and you can find some still like high quality, not too expensive, memorable food. One would be from Scott Clark, who I know has been a guest on this show before. I think for his book Coastal. He's the chef and owner of Dad's Luncheonette, which is a really cool red caboose. And he's got like 5 killer things on the menu, and you can justify that you want to get all of them. Like you want the burger on the bread from the Rosalind spot. He makes his hamburgers on the bread that we talked about in Pacifica. And he does a maitake mushroom one, Josh, that you would love.
Oh, yeah. I know that he said, I listened to his episode of California Now, and he said it's a hamburger sandwich, which is a strange phrasing to me, but he's the chef from a Michelin star restaurant, not me, so I will take his word for it.
It does sound redundant, but it is. When you look at it, it's like if your French mom and then a Michelin-starred chef like got together and decided to like make you lunch. That's what it would be. Like, there's an herb salad, there's the sandwich burger, there's hand-cut homemade potato chips.
He was asked, what do you recommend on the menu? And he was like, there's only a few things and they're all good. I just like that he has the confidence to know that what he's serving up is legit and you can't go wrong.
They do have limited hours, so be sure to check their website. I want to say they close at like 4, so that would be your lunch. And then for dinner in Half Moon Bay, I would absolutely go to Barbara's Fish Trap. It's a seafood shack not far from there. Always has a line, unfortunately, but the move is you can go to the walk-up window and get yourself your fish and chips or her famous clam chowder. They sell like gallons and gallons of this stuff a week. Or you can leave your name and go walk over to Pillar Point Harbor and watch the fishers cast their lines there and catch fish. You'll probably hear some sea lions. You might see a whale. So that's usually what people do. They put their name down and they go walk over there.
Yeah. It's nice to have an option to go somewhere beautiful when you're waiting for your table to be ready, or just like
Yeah, agreed.
sit in a
Agreed.
strange room or in your car. I do just want to touch on, because I was on the SFGATE website and I was reading some of your stuff. There's a restaurant, Shadowbrook, which is a little further south. I don't know if it counts as the peninsula. It's just sort of on the north side of Monterey Bay, but it has a hillavator, which looks like this tiny, beautiful funicular that brings you up to this classic sort of what was an old cabin and now is a restaurant with like 5 different rooms, and there's like a tree growing in one of them, and it just looks incredible.
Oh, I'm so glad you read that. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
technically, I mean, it's in Santa Cruz County, so it's a bit of
Okay.
a jaunt, but absolutely worth like a side trip if you have like an extra day.
Yeah.
It's a remarkable place, just like that story said. I'm really impressed that you know what a funicular is. 'Cause a
Well,
lot of
my
people
father's from Pittsburgh, and the Incline is, I mean, according to my father, the most famous funicular in the world. These places are all on the coast, and I'm sure it's also equally beautiful in a different way when you go inland. So when you go inland, what's on your sort of itinerary there? Where are you stopping? What towns? What restaurants?
there's so much. It's such a massive area, and there's so much to see. Like you could go to the southern tip of the peninsula to Palo Alto, which is sort of obvious. Hit all the fancy restaurants on University Avenue. You could go north, closer to, let's say you're going back to SFO, and you could go to Burlingame. And that's also like a well-to-do kind of posh city with a lot of restaurants, very walkable. There's a spot there you'd probably really like called 12 Month. It's a vegan and vegetarian restaurant, all-day menu, lots of really cool things. And I'm going to say you go to the 94062, which is Woodside, California. I think I'd focus my time there. One reason is this new little spot called literally the Little Store. It's a cafe and flower shop that's resurrected this. It's a landmark little tiny space that was, I think it was once a Country Mart and even a gas station. It's a century old. And these 2 restaurateurs from San Francisco took it over, brought in a Michelin-starred chef from Birdsong in the city. And she's doing, it's kind of like Dad's Luncheonette. It's just like a small, focused, awesome menu. I'd get breakfast there. One of the toasts, they do like these, they do like a whipped avocado mousse with feta and all these fun bits on top that vegans would love, and like a chocolate and cacao and almond one. She does a lot of beautiful toasts. So I'd get one of those and some coffee. She does a honeysuckle espresso, which is like I've never heard of.
Mm-hmm.
Honeysuckle.
Yeah. Hey, I mean,
Great.
I leave this stuff up to the professionals, and when they
Oh, me
present it to
too.
you, yeah.
It's probably very aromatic. I have not had it, but the place is packed. People love it, and in a town like Woodside, where there aren't a lot of gathering places, I think it's becoming sort of resurrecting that it's like this little social hub for the community to chat and meet up and stuff. From there, I think you guys have covered this before, but I would go to Filoli Gardens, to the house and the gardens. 1917 Georgian-inspired mansion. I think it's 54,000 square feet. It's got like 52 rooms, 17 bathrooms. It's just a stunning place, and you learn a lot about the history and the architecture and the architect that built it. The gardens, I would say it's the most phenomenal garden in the Bay Area.
Oh, wow.
And if you go soon, the artist Thomas Danbo has erected his giant trolls. They're
Oh,
these
yes.
adorable. Have you heard about these? They're like these
I have.
recycled material trolls. They look like the guy from Where the Wild Things Are.
Mm-hmm.
They all have a character, and there's like a quiz where you can be like, which troll are you? And they have different personalities. You'll get some great photos. It's just beautiful. You can really spend some time there and digest all your food.
Amazing. My wife is an equestrian, and she does shows in Woodside every now and again. And she's always like, you should come up to Woodside. It's beautiful. And it's always just so far afield that I'm always like, I'll skip this one. But I mean, she'll be frustrated that someone else told me to go to Woodside. And then I was like, well, now I'm going to go to Woodside. But
Has she ever told you about or heard about the Mountain House
I don't know.
in Woodside? So I think you should blow her mind by taking her on a date night to celebrate her equestrian, achievements. This place is an absolute trip that it even exists. It's in Woodside. You take Skyline Drive down, I think, like 7 miles into a literal redwood grove. And they've built this restaurant there in the forest. It's like a red cabin, and you know you're there when you see like the smoking chimney and a life-size carved statue of Neil Young. That's how you know you're there. Because, of course, he recorded a video there, and he met his wife Peggy there. She was a waitress back when this place is historic. It was like a roadhouse in the 70s, and that's where he met his wife. But these two, once again, Michelin-starred chefs from Village Pub in Woodside. It's probably like the most famous restaurant in Woodside. They decided they were going to build the next great California restaurant in an impossible place. And you want to sit in this glass-enclosed dining room, literally surrounded by redwoods, like jutting out of the glass. It's just an incredible place. And I think she'd be really impressed with you.
Yeah, I think she would be too. Do they allow horses in the restaurant? Because we will have a horse with us if we go.
You could arrive on horseback.
Okay. I mean, 7 miles in. That sounds lovely.
Yeah. It is a treacherous, windy road. I'm sure the horses will love it.
Their horses are fine with that. Yeah. This has been lovely. I'm hungry. I should have eaten before this interview, but I did not. And now I am desperate to eat. Thank you so much for joining us here on California Now. This has been great. Thank you so much, Jessica.
Thank you, Josh. Thank you.
Jessica Yadegaran is a food editor at SFGATE. Check out her pieces on the Bay Area food scene at sfgate.com. All right, that's it for this episode of California Now. Thanks for joining us. Remember, we're not just an audio podcast anymore. Check out our conversations on YouTube and on Visit California's social media channels. And don't forget, you can get more great California travel tips and inspiration for your next Golden State adventure directly in your inbox. Sign up for the free Visit California newsletter at visitcalifornia.com. Between episodes of California Now, you can catch me and more of my adventures on my other podcast, Family Trips with the Meyers Brothers, that I do with my big brother, Seth. This podcast is produced by Visit California. I'm your host and executive producer, Josh Meyers. Our producer is Kate Eppelboim. Jessica Marshall is our technical lead. Janae Shaw is our editorial director. Our theme song is by Stephen Carlin. You can find our show on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.